I used to think my purpose was to wake everyone up, to shake them by the shoulders and point at the sunrise. But Sunny, he never tried to wake me. He was just awake. And in his silence, I started to hear the noise I was making. The memory of that dawn was a splinter in my mind. I had been that woman, armed with truths I believed could save the world. I preached in coffee shops and debated online, my heart a frantic drumbeat against the cage of collective slumber. And Sunny was always there, a silent witness to my crusade. He was my older brother. A childhood illness had left him nonverbal, but I came to see it differently. The illness hadn't taken his mind. It had stripped away the noise, leaving behind a pristine awareness. He was like a clear, still lake, perfectly reflecting the sky, while I was a turbulent river, trying to carve canyons with the force of my convictions. I remember one afternoon, filled with frustration after a fruitless argument, I stormed into the living room where Sunny was patiently arranging cards by color. "They just don't get it," I exclaimed. "It's like explaining color to someone who insists on seeing in black and white." Sunny paused. He didn't look at me, but picked up a single card, the Ace of Hearts, a vibrant red. He held it up not for me to take, but for me to see. He slowly turned it, letting the light catch its surface. He wasn't explaining the color red. He was simply presenting it, without demand. In that moment, I had my first, humbling lesson. True sight cannot be handed to another like a gift. It's a shift in perception, and that shift only happens when an individual is prepared to see for themselves. You can talk until you are breathless, but the real understanding must be born within them. Language can only point the direction. It cannot force the gaze to follow. Over time, watching Sunny's quiet interactions, I came to a quiet acceptance. The journey of awakening is not unlike a bud preparing to bloom. You can pull at its petals, but if the time isn't right, it will not open. Forcing it only leads to damage. Life moves by its own deep, natural timing. Every heart unlocks exactly when it is meant to. My only role was to have faith in the process. There is a profound peace in this understanding, to see that existence itself is the guide, that even not knowing has its place in the grand design. I saw this with our neighbor, Mr. Henderson, a gruff and lonely widower. My old self would have tried to offer comforting words, but Sunny would simply walk over and sit on the steps a few feet away, not speaking, just sharing the space. Sometimes he'd push a freshly picked apple across the porch floor. No words, just a silent acknowledgement of shared presence. Some understandings cannot be taught. They must be discovered through living. Pain, doubt, loss, these aren't errors in the plan. They are the plan itself. Sunny taught me to cease pounding on gates that were not yet ready to swing wide, to sow insights like quiet seeds and walk away without looking back. If the ground is fertile, the seed will sprout. If it is not, the seasons will handle it. Waking others was not my task, because a far greater intelligence was already performing that duty flawlessly. Call it the universe, source, the fundamental nature of reality. The name did not matter. It was the same silent force that turned the stars and guided the birds in flight, all without a single word from me. When I attempted to wake people, I was taking on a burden that was never mine to carry. I began to believe I was the guide, the hero. But this was the final, clever trick of the self. The great mystery already knew the unique journey each being must take. It knew precisely which dream would stir them, which sorrow would make them ready. My purpose, then, was beautifully simple. Remain aware myself, express my truth when I felt called to, but then let it go the moment it left my lips. For the message was no longer mine. It belonged to the timing of the whole. Conviction wasn't measured by how many nodded in agreement. It was shown by my inner stillness, by my capacity to trust that even those who opposed me were being guided by the same eternal current. The moment I truly ceased my struggle, a remarkable shift occurred. It was as if a veil fell away. The people I once labeled as unaware were not blockages on my road. They were my road. Their lack of sight was revealing my own haste. Their pushback showed me the places where I was still trying to make life conform to my design. A deep tenderness filled my heart. The world was never my adversary. It was only ever showing me a perfect reflection of my own state. And then something even more incredible started to emerge. The reality I was so desperate to awaken others to was never separate from me to begin with. Every individual I encountered was life presenting me with a mirror. When I faced someone who was rigid, it highlighted a rigidity within me. When I met someone drifting in sleep, the universe was murmuring, "Remember, You too have walked in this dream. The ultimate realization dawned. I had never been trying to awaken others. I had been awakening to myself through them, for there are no others, only varied expressions of the one consciousness. This is why the one who sees becomes so compassionate. They stop condemning those who dream, because they perceive that the same essence glows behind every face. Some veils are thick, some are thin, but the same fire burns in all. The world is not your mission to repair. It is your looking glass. When you transform, it transforms. When you release judgment, it softens. This is the silent heart of true awakening. Not that you escape the world, but that you finally recognize it was never separate from you. The moment you experience the world as your own self, you see the absurdity of constantly trying to adjust it. After all, who is the one making the adjustments? It is a whirlpool trying to calm the ocean. We dedicate our lives to reshaping the cosmos, as if life were broken and required our management. But the mountains do not ask for our guidance. The galaxies do not debate how to sparkle. Everything operates in magnificent order without our direction. When this truth strikes you, you see that all the saving and correcting were merely methods of refusing to join the dance. To surrender is not to quit. It is to participate fully, but without the burden of command. You still act, but you no longer struggle. You still speak, but you release the need for agreement. And all at once, living becomes effortless again. You flow with life instead of opposing it, like a stream finding its path to the ocean. You understand the world isn't a problem to be solved, it is a story to be witnessed, and your witnessing is a vital part of that story. Once you stop trying to mend the world, the next trap is to start lecturing others about not trying. Reality doesn't require a promoter. It expresses itself perfectly through the grace of your movement, the ease of your smile, the steadiness of your presence. People rarely stir because of a lecture. They stir because they sense something in your being that cannot be articulated, a quality of deep quiet. That is the only genuine teaching that exists, not your speech, but your state of being. When you embody what you have realized, it shines from you without any effort. And that is the moment when people begin to inquire, "What's different about you?" And you simply smile, because you know you haven't acquired anything. You've merely stopped resisting what you always were. To live the truth is to disappear into it. No sermons, no convincing, just being. And the paradox is, that is when your very existence begins to communicate everything you once struggled to say. You were never separate from the flow. To trust the movement is to stop battling life. And when you finally let go, you discover something profoundly beautiful. You were never here to save a single soul. You cannot. Every being has their own path. You cannot walk it for them. And this is not a failure. It is a gift. Because love that seeks no control is the most powerful love of all. I finally understood. I looked at Sunny, my silent teacher. He was not broken. He was complete. And in his quiet way, he had guided me home. I sat down beside him, letting go of my need to change anything. I simply watched the sky with him, two expressions of the same consciousness, both finally arriving at the same simple destination. The current had guided us. It had not taken us somewhere else. It had brought us home. And in that peace, there was nothing left to do, and everything was already done.